Hello everyone. Today we're going to look at my newest release, the Bento Elephant. So I finally got around to finishing him. He is unique in a lot of ways because he uses two skeletons to work. With this trunk I had to create a whole new skeleton and reorient a bunch of bones. We can take a look at this real quick here, because normally a face is not going to have all these bones. In our default face, it's not going to have all these bones to create this trunk and have it bend and move and stuff. So I had to create a different rig to control all that. And the other rig basically controls the nose, or the trunk here, the mouth, and the ears. That's why they're different colors. And the rest is controlled by my original Avastar rig. But that's a look at the elephant skeleton. So we'll pop back into Second Life and look at some of the features. Normally right off the bat when you wear him, he'll have animation inside of him that controls all of his movements. We see jumping, land, there's a couple idles in there, some expressions, some tail animation, and all of this works seamlessly, automatically, as you move around. And why don't we move around a little bit? We can run, back the camera up a little, walk, jump. He can fly, and when he flies, he just uses his ears, kind of like Dumbo. And of course, elephants can't fly, so I didn't even attempt to try and make this realistic at all. And there's his falling animation. But it's kind of fun to be an elephant and run around. What other animations? He has a turning animation where he turns. And I think there is even a crouch. There's a crouch, and then a walk that goes with this crouch. This crouch walk is taking a little bit to load because I hadn't already played it. So there's a quick look at the elephant moving around. And of course, this is a Bento Elephant, so he's highly customizable. Let me get back over to where my light is. And there we go. And let me spin this around to look at him. Okay. Now, some of the features, he does come with a HUD. If you look down here, there's a HUD, Medhue Elephant HUD. And before I do that, I'll turn on my speech gestures. The elephant also has speech gestures that allow my mouth, as you can see his mouth, to move as I speak. So that's a really cool feature. Really helps out the immersion of being an elephant. Oh, we just saw the environment change real quick. And right next to him over here is a normal human size mesh here to compare. And some of the features in the HUD. So the HUD, I arranged this quite differently than the wolf, and I'm actually going to update the wolf with some of the features that I put in for the elephant. But if you click different sections of this image of the elephant, you'll get different options. So if I were to click the body, and you see you get a little signal there with it changing color. And we have a bunch of options here. He could sleep on the ground. So he's sleeping. We could dance. Have a quick dance animation for him. We could have an eating animation. There's actually 2 different eating animations, and this isn't going to work very well with the speech gestures because the speech gestures are also controlling the trunk, so you don't want to be wearing your speech gestures when you're using these eat animations. There's one of them that helps you get things out of a tree, and here he's kind of just pulling up the grass and eating it. And there's a trumpeting animation with a sound. We have a strike and a balancing animation. Just nothing too special there. And so that's when you click the body, that's what you get. When you click the head, you'll get some expressions, some animations to control the eyes, and some different ear animations. So let's go through the ear animations first. This is just, he just keeps flapping his ears. A lot of elephants do this too, to cool themselves off. So you can control that. You can just have kind of a hangy ear there with that animation. And that animation, you can, these ear animations, you can leave playing all the time. They kind of go over top of all the other animations. And you have this this third animation that kind of has his ears flapping out. And we'll go to, you can trigger a blink, which was pretty quick there. Blink. You can close the eyes all together, and they'll just stay closed like that. Except when you blink, sometimes I have the blink overriding it. There's a wink animation. Now that was hard to see because it winks its right eye, so I think I'd have to go like that. Yeah. Cute though. And then we have some expressions. So there's a wow expression. Okay, here's a smile. He smiles. Here we have an angry expression. The elephant is angry. Worried. We have a worried animation there. Yeah, he's worried. And then there's always a stop option with these too. And the tusks here are actually 2 buttons. So the first button allows you to change the trunk, the length and size of the trunks using these different animations. Now I'll go through them real quick. That one made the trunks quite a bit longer, and I think they spread out a little bit. Here's number 2. Kind of the same length, but now they're pulled in slightly. Number 3, they're not symmetrical here. Long, but not symmetrical. 4 is the same thing, just switched. 5 is longer and bent in a lot more. 6, we have 1 broken tusk there. One side is broken. 7 does the opposite, so this side is now broken. And, oops, wrong button there. Oops. 8 is a little bit shorter tusk. Oh, why do I keep hitting the wrong button here? There we go. 9 is even shorter. 10, we go out a little bit longer but bent in. And 11, we get more of a mammoth type of look here. Mammoth type of tusk. Why don't we just keep it at 8? Or I like 10 a lot too. Let me see, 10. So it's a little bit longer, but it bends inward. So that's the tusk button. The trunk button down here, it just plays the trumpeting animation, just quick access to the trumpeting animation. The tip of the tusk here will play the striking animation. And then we have one button left here. It's labeled with a big G, and that is for gestures. And this is mostly chat gestures. This is, you'll click the button to turn the chat gestures on and off. So you either want to use them or you don't want to use them. And you can also customize the words in this button. What happens is you use words in your chat, and these words will trigger different animations, mostly expressions. So there's a configuration note card. You can edit this note card. The first word is whatever word you want to use, and then the second slot is for the animation you want to use. So there's a list of animations in here, and I also included a bunch of sounds that you can connect. Sounds, you need actually 4 different pieces to add the sound. You need your word, some animation, usually a default expression I just use to fill the space. It's not going to do anything. Then I have the elephant laugh, and then or any elephant animation from this list here, and then I can add in the sound. So this HUD is I made for myself and uses a bunch of male sounds in the chat gesture system, and I'll give you some examples of this. Like I could just type in trumpet, and it'll play the trumpeting animation. I could say that, for instance, close this a little bit so we can see. I could say sad, and I'll play a kind of sad looking animation. Happy animation. Laugh. A laughing animation there with a sound, and maybe sigh. I think it's supposed to be a sound triggered there. Maybe that's not in there. What other ones? Mad. You were to type the word mad, you would give a mad kind of expression there. But so that's basically how the elephant works. The last part of this is customization. So with Bento avatars, we can customize our shapes. And the same thing applies to this elephant. So I'm wearing the default elephant shape. Now I'll switch to a very large shape. So I'm trying to give you show you the drastic differences that you can create, different elephants that you can create, and most of the animations still work very fluidly. Look at how huge the bottom of his trunk is. Oh, now I lifted it up. Alright, let me click on a button here. There we go. So he looks around, but look at how large the bottom of his trunk is, that almost like a snout, and how large these ears are. Now that's just the extreme of the range here with this shape that I created. I just tried to go for an extreme. Look at how thick his neck is here too. So that's just an extreme. And real quickly here to finish this off, I'm going to go through some of these. I'm going to design a new elephant here. So we'll say small shape. So I'll want to go the opposite direction here and try and go as small as I can. Just to show kind of the range of elephants that you can create here. Edit my shape. And right off the bat here, you see this is a four-legged animal, so when you go in to edit the shape, the legs are going to cross like this. Excuse me. So height. Now we're going first. We want smaller, so let's try and go to the extreme. Make a really small avatar. I think body fat doesn't work. Hovering will help you adjust the height, and I probably need to come down a couple, so I'll just do that for now. We'll go to the head here, and head size will go as small as I can get. Now you'll notice that the trunk gets all wacky here because we don't have an animation holding it back in place, because I had to make this weird skeleton for the trunk here. So when you're in edit mode, you'll have that weirdness. So here we have head stretch. I wouldn't go too crazy with that. The head shape seems to just adjust the top of the ears there, so we probably want to go inward with that if we're going with a smaller shape here. And egg head, I would go a little bit more this way. Head length, you do not want to play with all that much. I wouldn't move it too much. Brow size, let's go as small as we can get. Upper cheeks. Now this is interesting because I used a cheekbone for the lower ear here. So that means I can control the size of that lower earlobe there. So let's make it as small as I can get it. The lower cheek out is to sink the cheeks in more. Let's see if I can't get a better look at that. So lower cheek sinks the cheek in more. And the cheekbone one doesn't work. We'll go to eyes now. The eyes are stuck in whatever animation was last playing, so we're not getting a great look at them. But here we can control this eye size, and you'll see a lot of distortion in there. But a lot of times you can adjust this with other sliders. So like I'll show you, I'm going extremely small here because that eye size slider you don't want to go too crazy with, but I'm bleeding through a little bit here too. So if I use this eye opening a little bit to kind of correct that, then eye spacing doesn't work on this avatar. It will work on some avatars, some Bento avatars. Eye depth doesn't really work on this one. Eye bags does work quite a bit, but I don't want to go too crazy with it. Puffy eyes, that will help some distortion also. Ears, okay, this is a good one too, but only one slider in the ears work, so I can go really huge or I can go really small. So we are going for small on this one. So it looks like I'm getting a little fold over in the mesh, and I hope animation is going to fix that, so let's not worry about that right now. The nose for an elephant, I know this is going to be kind of weird, but I don't have a lot of customization with this setup because of how I set up the bones. At some point in the future, I might redo the elephant again, so that I can take advantage of a lot of these sliders. But there is still some that you can do with it. When we looked at the really large elephant, you saw that I could get the tusk to be thicker, I could get the trunk to be a little bit thicker, especially the ends, because the ends are using kind of lip bones. So I'll go through these real quick. Nose size. Okay, now the nose bone is kind of in here, so this is what I mean about, it's kind of not a great option. I might, like I said, I might redo it and reposition some of these bones. Like this nose one could go here, and this could make this quite a bit better, but At the same time, though, look at that range I have for those. It affects the tusks, too. Because I think the tusks are using my nostril bones. Or the side bones, right and left bones. So I'm going to go as small as possible, and that really screws up the trunk. But I can also correct that by using maybe a little bit of the width and a little bit of the nose thickness, so I can correct that distortion in that nose by using some of these other sliders. Upper bridge is not all that useful. I mean, it does control things. Lower bridge does too. Bridge width is another one you can use to look at how fat this is in here now. So I can use bridge width, and maybe I'll go up and do nose width to kind of correct that bump in there. So there are some things you can do to customize this trunk. And when we get to lips, you'll kind of see nose thickness. So that kind of makes things thicker too. But it's all kind of happening in the same area. So it does get quite a bit tricky playing around with all this. Nose tip even controls one too. So that could get a little bit lower. Okay, so let's move on to the mouth. Now the mouth, I didn't keep a lot of the mouth bones where they should be. So a lot of these sliders aren't really going to affect a whole lot. But lip fullness, if we look down at the bottom of the trunk, even though it doesn't have an animation to distort it, or to undistort it, we can see that lip thickness has quite a bit of effect on that end of the trunk. So, we're going for something smaller, so let me go a little bit smaller here. And fullness, too, also has quite a bit of effect. Maybe go like that. I don't want it to look too strange. Lip ratio, that also has some effect. Mouth position, none of these really. I think some of this does do some weird stuff, but you can play around with that. The chin, not a whole lot works with the chin, so I'm not going to really show that off too much. Torso, here's where we can get quite a bit different shaped elephants. Torso muscles don't work. Neck thickness. Now, it's kind of strange with quadruped bento avatars because these work almost opposite. So instead of thickness, it works length of the neck, and we're going for something small, so we want the lowest extreme. And length works the thickness of the neck. So we are, of course, going for something small, so we want it as small as possible. I want the shoulders. The shoulders can go out or in. So let's bring those in. Breast size does not work. None of that works. Arm length doesn't really make the legs longer or shorter. It kind of affects the thickness of it. So we're going for something smaller, so I'm going to go in the mid-range there because it'll get too thin sometimes. And we have hand size. I'll go a little bit smaller. Torso length does quite a bit there, but let's try and make him smaller. Love handles, no. Belly doesn't work. And the last one, legs. Let's back out here. Leg length. Now, with these, you're going to have to play with quite a bit on your final shape here to get the legs to line up with the front legs, because as you start playing with these things, they end up not lining up with the front legs, and you have to kind of go back and forth to try and make them match in a way. Hip width is a really nice slider, and we're going for smaller, so let's go all the way. Hip length does affect, but again, we're gonna start affecting the height of the avatar and the comparison with the front legs too. And none of the other ones are really none of the other ones really work. So there, we can save that avatar, spin him around here, take a look at him. So he's quite a bit different in a lot of different ways. And especially when you switch. So let me get a slightly side view of him. So let's go to our default size. Probably turn my speech gestures on now. So there's the default size. Here's our big shape, and here's our small shape. And there the animations are working now perfectly. So now we'll go the default shape and then back to the small shape. And that is kind of a cute, it's almost baby size in a way. And I also, if you look here too, the front and back legs don't really match up. So you kind of have to go back and forth with the editing of the shape to kind of get them to match up with the front legs. But that's a quick look at the avatar. Let me see here. I want to show the product page. So real quickly, that's probably going to take a few minutes. So I'll leave all the information to purchase the elephant below. And let me wear the default shape there. And yes, I'll leave all the information below. And please check out, if you're into these bento avatars, you want to play around and be an elephant, then go check out and purchase my elephant on the marketplace. So have a good one, everyone.